Why you? That's the question your buyers are asking themselves from the very first second they meet you. Make it hard to answer and they won't give you a second thought, but make it instantly clear and you leave a mark on their brain that makes you impossible to ignore. Because anyone can get noticed, only the undeniable get chosen every single time. But right now, most experts are stuck fighting for attention, scrambling to occupy the highly coveted brain space of buyers. And it's creating an epidemic in the business world, one where buyers can't tell the difference between you and everyone else. You start to sound the same, look the same, even offer the same promises. And in a market full of noise, when you blend in, you get overlooked because buyers don't just want another great option. They want the clear, obvious, undeniable one. So if you want to become the first and only choice, the one that clients choose without hesitation, this episode is your turning point. Welcome to being unignorable, the answer to being the undeniable choice that clients pick every single time. And I'm going to break down why most experts unknowingly make themselves comparable, the reason clients hesitate even when you're more than qualified, and the shift to become the one they choose every single time. So let's get into it. Now, hey, and welcome back to the Business Real Talk, the show where we ditch the fluff and dive into real strategies that drive sustainable, scalable, and profitable growth. Now, last week, we broke down how to simplify scaling using a method-based marketing system. And we addressed how this not only allows you to 10x your revenue by streamlining your growth, but how it simplifies decisions for your high-intent buyers. So you can have one simple and method-based marketing system that makes it easy for buyers to say yes, whether you have multiple offers on the back end. And you can finally quit juggling launches, funnels, and complex marketing. Method-based marketing simplifies how you grow. But simplicity isn't enough if your message doesn't make people stop in their tracks, because the best marketing system in the world only works if it's amplifying what's undeniable. And being sought after isn't about how you sell, it's about why people pick you in the first place. So let's be honest, every expert out there wants to be the first choice, the go-to, the one that people recommend in rooms that you're not even in, the name that lives at the top of your dream clients must work with list. But here's the truth that no one tells you. Clients aren't choosing based on who's the most talented anymore, or even the loudest. They're choosing based on who's the most clear, the most compelling, the most unforgettable. They want the person who feels like the obvious answer before they even finish the question. And yet, most experts are still doing everything they can to stand out, posting more content, tweaking their niche, hiring branding experts, launching new offers, all in this attempt to try and get people to notice them. Because somewhere along the way, we bought into this idea that being the first choice for buyers was about being the loudest voice in the room, that standing out meant being flashier, louder, more attention grabbing than the next person. So we start showing up with gimmicks, tricks, the things that try and get us noticed. Big, bold claims like 10K in 10 days, oversharing personal stories to try and feel relatable and vulnerable, or niche hopping or rebranding every few months just to try and find your edge or look more premium. Launching new offers constantly just to try and stay relevant. And don't get me wrong, some of that might get you a click, a like, or even a few leads, but attention isn't the same as authority. And novelty isn't the same as trust, because the moment your message becomes just another performance to keep up with, it stops being memorable and starts being forgettable. And newsflash, in today's market, buyers aren't short on options. They're short on clarity, knowing why you are the only choice, the one they can trust to lead them, not just sell to them. It's kind of like walking through Times Square. Every screen might be flashing in your face. Every billboard is shouting. Everyone's vying for your attention with something bigger, louder, or more in your face. And for a second, you might stop and glance. But do you remember any of it later? Does any one ad stick with you? Do you leave knowing exactly which brand to trust your money with? Probably not, because when everyone's trying to stand out by being louder, they all start to blur together, because turning up the volume on your message only makes you easier to tune out. That's exactly what's happening in the online space. Everyone's shouting louder, showing more, promising more, and buyers, they're tuning it all out because getting noticed isn't the same as getting chosen, and being seen isn't the same as being remembered. That's why the goal should have never been to just stand out. It's about becoming unignorable, where you're not just an option, you're the one that they can't stop thinking about. You're the name they remember, the choice they trust and share with anyone who will listen. Because when you're unignorable, you don't just attract attention, you create obsession. You become the name circling their mind at 2 a.m., the tab they never close, the post. That's what happens when you stop trying to be louder and start becoming clearer, sharper, and impossible to overlook. So what does it take to become unignorable? Let's start with understanding why so many experts unknowingly make themselves overlooked and comparable. It starts with understanding this. It's not about having more to say. It's about leading the conversations that are going to land deeply, the ones that people can't unhear. See, let me give you a quick story. When I was 13, I had a teacher, Mr. Fitzpatrick, Mr. Fitz for short. Now, no matter how hard I tried, I could never seem to get an A in that class. He had this way of making you think, and when you didn't have the answer, you felt like everyone could see right through you. But there was something else about him, something that set him apart from every other teacher. He didn't settle for good enough. He had this uncanny ability to make you uncomfortable in the best way possible. So you could try to coast by, but he knew, and he saw more than you could ever see in yourself. Now, it was 7th period in the middle of May, and the bell rang, and I quickly started packing my bag, ready to leave the chaos of the school day behind me. But just as I was ready to escape, Mr. Fitz called me up to his desk. My stomach had dropped. You all know that feeling. Nas, he said, sit down for a second. We need to talk. I had no idea what to expect. I'd been trying so hard to keep my head down, but somehow he saw through that too. And he said, your writing lacks depth. You can make things sound nice, but you're just scratching the surface. See, it's not about sounding better than everyone else. It's about saying the things between the lines, those things that no one else can hear, the ones that no one else can see, the one that no one else thinks. Those words were what stuck with me for decades to come. They changed how I looked at everything. When I decided to graduate high school a year early and move to a state that I knew no one in, those words guided me. When I left a super successful 6-figure marketing career and started my own business with no clients and a 2-month baby at home, those words guided me. See, they left a mark so deep that I couldn't ignore it. Now, this is where experts miss the mark. They think that it's good enough to sound good on the surface. A perfectly curated feed, professionally produced webinar, a launch with all the bells and whistles, focusing on these flashy gimmicks, the noise. They're not tapping into the deeper level, the things between the lines, the disruptive thinking that changes everything. It's exactly why they end up blending in with everyone else. And in a market full of noise, when you're just another voice in the crowd, you'll get lost. So I've said it before, I'm gonna say it again. If people can compare you, they will. Let me say it again. If people can compare you, they will. And most experts are unknowingly making themselves comparable because they do a few different things. Number one, they sell the what instead of the how. Now, you've seen it before. They say things like, I help people lose weight. I help people grow their business. I help people organize their finances. But the truth is, the what is everywhere. Everyone is selling the same promises, the outcomes, the buzzwords. That's why clients are shopping based on price or popularity, because every single offer starts to sound the same. Now, what sets you apart is how you do it, your unique approach, your thought process, your lens on the problem. Think of it like a recipe. The what might be chocolate cake, but the how is your secret ingredients that make it unforgettable. When you articulate your how with clarity, people stop comparing and they choose you because they see a method, not just a result. Now, the second biggest mistake people make, they water down their message. Now, to appeal to more people, a lot of times we're told to soften our edges. So we generalize, we over-explain, we try to be liked instead of leading with conviction. Now, what ends up happening is you try to resonate with everyone and you lose the people who would actually feel called to you. It's like trying to write a song that pleases every genre. It ends up being forgettable noise. See, the strongest message isn't the most palatable. It's the one that hits a nerve. It's bold. It's polarizing. It doesn't say, I can help you. It says, I'm the only one who sees the way it really is. Being unignorable means standing for something so clearly that the right people feel magnetized and the wrong people walk away. Now, I posted something in a group 2 weeks ago that nearly got my head ripped off, and my first reaction was to want to delete the post immediately. But that single post led to dozens of DMs, new leads in my pipeline, friend requests, etc. And people who hated what I had to say even started talking about me in their own content. See, what I said stuck. It struck a chord and made people start to think differently. And isn't that the point? To leave a mark in a way that what you said lives on past when you post on social media? Now, the third mistake people make is they define themselves too narrowly. See, a lot of experts, they build their identity around one part of what they do. We're talking niches, right? I'm a copywriter. I'm a nutrition coach. I'm a mindset strategist. But when you box yourself into a title or a single skill set, you shrink your authority and you silence parts of your genius that don't neatly fit into the label. So it's kind of like having a symphony inside of you, but you're only letting the piano play. So let's use an accountant as an example. See, they might see their value as managing the numbers, when in reality, their brilliance might be helping entrepreneurs make strategic decisions with financial clarity, emotional neutrality, and long-term vision. They don't say that because it's not in the job title. So when you define yourself too linearly, you suppress the full brilliance of your work. And not only does that limit how others perceive your value, it chips away at your own fulfillment because you're never fully expressing who you are and how you help people. Integration is the key. When you integrate a full spectrum of your expertise, your skills, your beliefs, your perspectives, you stop sounding like an echo and you start leading with something only you can deliver. So if being highly skilled, passionate, and experienced isn't enough to stand out, what is? Because we already know it's not about doing more, and it's not even about being better. It's about owning what makes you different and creating an association so strong, people can't stop thinking about it. Here's the real talk. The difference between experts who get overlooked and the ones that have clients lining up, even at premium prices, comes down to this one thing: brand association. It's the perception people have of you, what they instantly associate with your name, what you're remembered for long after they scroll past. When that perception is clear, distinct, and tied to something innovative, you become unignorable. But most businesses haven't even given their brand association a second thought, let alone created one for people to latch on to. So let's talk about how we actually do this, because when you get this right, this is how we create a movement around your big idea, something people become so obsessed with. So I call this the movement maker. And the formula is really simple. You take a disruptive idea and you attach that to your innovative method, and it creates a movement. In 2011, a quiet woman in Tokyo started a revolution, not by organizing people's homes, but by asking a single question: does this spark joy? You already know who I'm talking about. Marie Kondo wasn't just tidying closets. She introduced a philosophy of intentional living. That belief made her unforgettable, turning her method into a verb, KonMari. Her book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, sold over 11 million copies in 40 plus countries, and spark joy became a mainstream idiom across industries. Now, James Clear didn't just write another productivity book. He created a systems-first identity philosophy. Atomic Habits sold over 15 million copies and became a staple in business, wellness, and coaching spaces. His frameworks, like the 1% rule, are now common language in behavior change conversation. Or Tom's shoes. In 2006, after a trip to Argentina, a man named Blake Mycoskie had a simple idea. What if buying a pair of shoes could help someone else get a pair too? Instead of just launching a shoe brand, he launched a movement, one for one. Now, Tom's wasn't about shoes, it was about impact. That brand association made him unignorable, especially to conscious consumers, because he became the face for giving-based business models. So now they've donated over 100 million pairs of shoes, and they created this wave of conscious capitalism and e-commerce. That one-to-one became a business model. All of these movements started with a simple idea, combined with an innovative method to create a massive and unignorable movement. So let's break it down. Number one, your disruptive idea. What is your way of thinking, your big idea that is completely counterintuitive to the standard? It's this belief or principle that challenges the status quo, the one that people are afraid to speak out loud because it disrupts everything they've ever been taught. This idea is bold, it's audacious, it's the type of belief that, when shared, makes people stop in their tracks and question everything. This is the foundation of your movement. It's not just a shift in thinking, it's a complete reimagining of how things should be done. And your idea should be one that forces people to rethink their approach, to abandon outdated norms, and be willing to take a bold new step that feels scary, but ultimately game-changing. For me, it was one simple idea: that it should have never been about you selling your leads, but that it was about getting leads to sell themselves. Next, once you have that disruptive idea, it's about knowing the methodology that supports your idea. So this is where you offer the tactical side of your philosophy. It's how you make the impossible possible. It's a system that turns your disruptive ideas into a tangible, actionable reality. It's also the secret sauce that ensures people can't ignore what you're doing because the results speak for themselves. And finding your innovative method starts with one single question. First, understanding what is your disruptive thinking? What is that thought you have, that idea that we talked about right before this? And then how do you help people achieve that? So for me, I knew I had to sit down and ask myself, what needs to happen in order for people to be able to sell themselves, to get leads, to go through that process on their own without needing to be sold to? That concept really sparked the entire movement behind what I did in building the Netflix effect. Now, this is an approach that if you work together with me, we actually sit down and help you build your method. I have an entire science-backed approach that allows us to identify what is your disruptive thinking, and then what are the pieces of the puzzle? What is your big major beliefs that allow you to create that disruptive thought and bring it to life? Because when you have this, and only when you have this, is when you're able to truly create a movement, one that people rally behind, one that people understand, one that people shout about to everyone else that will listen, and one that ultimately makes you completely undeniable. And it's exactly why I developed the EZS method to begin with, because I understood that in order to get leads to sell themselves, there had to be a very key big formula behind it. And it's what I created in the EZS method. And it starts with 3 key pieces. Number 1, winning the market. Because your best clients, the ones who are actually ready to buy right now, they're not looking for another take on the same thing. They're searching for a breakthrough that makes them say, this is exactly what I've been waiting for. So while most businesses are fighting for attention, smart experts are making their competition irrelevant. Our innovative gap methodology allows us to help you uncover and articulate what makes your work truly innovative. We do this by pinpointing the gap in the market that only you can fill. It means that you're not just another option, you're the only option for high intent buyers. So instead of chasing and convincing, you create demand where high end clients seek you out, instantly see your value, and invest without hesitation. This step alone has allowed my clients to 5 to 10x their prices and have clients lining up to work with them. Now, the next step is turning your innovative method into a bingeable decision system. So think of how Netflix gets you to sit down, binge watch an entire series without taking any breaks, and you become a diehard fan. Now imagine that your buyers were doing the same thing with you, where they binge their way through your sales system, and with every episode, they become obsessed selling themselves on you every single step of the way. We call this the bingeable decision system, and it works by mirroring the natural decision process everyone goes through so that buyers can binge their way through your sales system, coming out eager and ready to work with you, so they beg to get on your calendar and join your program. No more chasing, no more months of back and forth, and no more feeding your audience so much content that your brain hurts. Just a simple automated system that gets your leads to sell themselves. Now, the third and final piece is about delivering on the promise you made, because sustainable businesses understand that marketing and sales are just not enough. You have to be able to deliver on your promise and create raving fans. This is why we built our Happy Client Machine, the systematic approach that delivers world-class results to your clients at scale without being fully reliant on you. So you have clients who are singing your praises to anyone they meet while actually being able to enjoy your life. This is the power behind the EZS method, building your business systems, strategies, and innovation to take your industry and the world by storm. So you become the most talked about and bought from expert. So if you're an action taker and you want to see how the EZS method can be applied inside your business, so you become unignorable, you become the name on everyone's lips, and you become the only option for your highest intent buyers, I want to invite you to apply for a growth optimization call. This call is between you and I. We're going to sit down, we're going to review your approach to getting consistent clients, and I'll specifically share how you can position your work, your method, so people are chasing you down. And then I'll show you how the EZS method can be applied inside of your business so you can turn your expertise into a bingeable masterpiece. So if you're ready to apply for your call, head on over to ezsleads.com/call. But if you're new around here, or you simply want to learn a little bit more about how the Netflix effect works to get your leads to sell themselves, I want to invite you to check out our limited time on-demand series that shares the 3-step system that gets your leads to sell themselves. You can head on over to thenetflixeffect.com. So I hope that you're walking away from this episode understanding the power behind becoming unignorable, and why it's not about being louder, flashier, or gimmicks at all, and why it's about creating a system, having a way that really brings your disruptive thinking to life and then shares how you use that disruptive thinking to change the course of how your clients get results. So if this has left a mark on you, has created a shift in the way you think, I would love and appreciate if you could just take 1 minute out of your already busy day to go rate, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. But until next time, here's to keeping it real.